Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Once again, welcome to Investment Fridays. This is another episode that's going to bring you an awesome amount of information about maybe investing or retiring in the country of Panama. Today, I have the pleasure of having with me Santiago Aguilar from ATA Global, and I also have Mike Vuytowecz from Inside Real Estate in Panama. So, gentlemen, thank you for making the time. We look forward to going through some of the questions that maybe some expats or North Americans, Canadians, or anyone that wants to invest in Panama may have. Mike, tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Inside Panama Real Estate. How did you end up in Panama?
Well, that's a good question. I was a mortgage banker and I owned a real estate company in San Diego. And right about '05, I actually retired in anticipation of '08. I guessed the timing wrong. I got out a little too early. But after about a year being retired, I couldn't stand myself. I missed doing deals.
Right.
So I started looking at emerging countries. I looked at quite a few, visited several, and really, as you know, most of what I looked at that I thought was attractive was either too far away or too complicated for the language and the culture. And so as I went down the list, when I finally got to Panama, which really wasn't on my radar at all, it didn't take long to discover that it looked like it was more palatable for a North American palate. Came a few times to have a look. Ultimately, I hired a driver, and I spent the better part of 2 years living in a van like a nomad. And I toured every inch of this country. I went around 21 times over a 2-year period, doing a lot of research. And towards the end of that, I decided I was going to launch a real estate company. That was in 2009.
So it sounds like you had an interesting, 2-year period where you had to really kind of dive deep into Panama to see if Panama was the place. Other than Panama, what other few countries were you considering?
Well, I looked at Vietnam. I looked at Croatia. I looked at Portugal. I looked at Costa Rica. There was definitely a few others. I looked at Hong Kong. But like I say, they were all just pretty far away from the kids and the grandkids, and I would have never learned the currency or the language or the culture. It just would have been too much of an adjustment. So Panama was a perfect fit.
So I see that's a really good point in terms of closeness. The other thing that probably influenced you too was the economy, right? Panama, we know that is a dollar-based economy.
That's a very good point, Hector. It was the only country in Latin America that had an economic engine like Panama does.
Right.
They all had some sort of benefits, but the economic engine was definitely important to me.
And I'm assuming that probably one of the questions that you probably had, and most people have right now, is affordability. What's the cost of living like in Panama? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, of course, it depends on where in Panama. Some places are more expensive than others, but a kind of a rule of thumb is it's approximately 30% less. I find it to be approximately 30% less than when I was living in San Diego, which of course is an expensive place as well.
Well, San Diego is definitely one of Southern California's more expensive places to live.
Yeah, right. I mean, there's some areas where it's less expensive than North America, and there's some things that are actually the same or even more. Electronic goods, for instance, cost more here than they would in the States. But overall, in my own personal life, and I do keep track of it, it's approximately 30% less than I used to spend in San Diego.
Fantastic. I know that Mexico can be a huge attraction as compared to Panama for most people that are thinking about maybe making a move to warmer climate and having their budget get extended a little bit. But obviously 30 to 40% cheaper is going to be a good indication to someone who might want to kind of extend their dollars and stretch their retirement budget. So thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
I guess another question that most would have was, what are some of the benefits that you see in terms of retirement benefits for expats like yourself that are typically going to be on most likely 60 years old and above, right?
Correct. They do have retirement benefits here. It's really a bit more in the mode of discounts. So if you're a retiree or pensionado, what they call it, is you get a lot of discounts on medicine, going to the movies, paying your electric bill. There's different levels of discounts. So
Nice.
if I go to a restaurant and choose to use it, it's 25% off the bill. Same with the
Nice.
electricity. I typically don't use it with the smaller restaurants.
Right.
But if I check into a nice hotel, or if I buy airline tickets, of course I like getting the discount.
Right.
Hotel, yeah. So
yeah, who
it's
doesn't like
definitely
discounts?
benefits. There's no doubt about it.
So it sounds like at least they consider the retirees and they extend a discount for them to. They probably understand that they're on a lower income, more of a stable income, and they do appreciate their patronage. So it's good to know that they at least will be able to take advantage of some of those retirement benefits in terms of discounts from some of the things and services that you can use in Panama.
It's definitely worked out well for the country as well as the people who take advantage of it.
Fantastic. You mentioned in the previous question that healthcare was one of the things that they give discounts on. And I know that in the past, for some of my podcasts, healthcare has been one of the main questions that many folks that are considering retiring out of country ask, right? Because as they get older, they're going to need a level of healthcare service that's probably, best to none, right? So tell us a little bit about the quality healthcare that they can maybe find in Panama, and how is Panama addressing the expat community, the retirement community that's coming into the country?
Well, in all honesty, if across the country, the most of the healthcare is provided by Social Security type, services. But in Panama City, the healthcare is very, very good. It's affordable, very, very affordable. I literally just got a crown at the dentist, and the whole thing, all in $200.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, you couldn't get that for anything less than $3,500 here in the States, for sure.
Well, that's exactly right. I thought the $200 was a deposit. I've used, thank goodness, I'm pretty healthy, but the few times that I've used the medical system here, I'm really surprised at the quality as well as the affordability is just crazy.
I would assume that in Panama that the quality of healthcare is probably much better than maybe some other Central American and South American countries, simply because, as we mentioned before, it is a dollar-based economy.
Correct.
It is depending on where you go in Panama, it has a huge metropolis in Panama City. It has skyscrapers and towers and condos and top level services. So I'm assuming the healthcare is going to be just as great, if not better, than back here at home.
Well, again, it depends on where you are in the country. If it's something serious, you're probably going to want to get to Panama City as quickly as you can. But the basic run-of-the-mill, going to the dentist or getting blood work or getting a physical every year or whatever. At my age, I try to do that. But is like extremely inexpensive.
Fantastic. I know one of the attractions to Panama, being that they're so close to the equator, if not on the equator, is their climate, right? That's probably one of the reasons why most expats, specifically Canadians and those North Americans that live in the upper echelon of our union and East Coast, tend to choose warmer climate. Tell me a little bit about the climate in Panama overall year.
The climate is equally diverse. There are many different climates in Panama. It's different in the city versus out at the beaches. I'm currently in Boquete, averages 70 degrees year round.
Nice.
But if you get anywhere near the beach, of course, like you said, you're pretty close to the equator. There's just no getting around it. It's warm.
Right.
I think that's why one of the reasons that Boquete has been named one of the number 1 or 2 places in the world to retire for years.
Fantastic.
Definitely attributed to the climate. And it's just a spectacular little town.
Out of curiosity, Mike, what are the numbers in terms of retirees that are currently in Panama from the U.S. and Canada, maybe other countries? What would you say population? 100,000, 80,000, 100,000?
I don't think it's anywhere near those numbers. And to be honest, I'm not really certain, but I what I hear is more down in the 20,000, 30,000 range.
Fair enough.
but
and growing.
and it's been changing. I mean, it's just been growing and growing and growing. I just really haven't stayed up with the number.
I feel like the COVID and the pandemic had such an influence on people being able to travel the world and still work from home, through technology. You and I are working through technology. I know Santiago is in El Salvador right now. You're in Panama, and I'm here in Los Angeles. So I think the technology has allowed more and more people to travel around the world and actually live in other places of the world and still be able to be productive for their companies, be able to earn an income, and at the very same time be able to enjoy affordable housing, affordable healthcare, beautiful climate and beaches. So I think the pandemic definitely spurred on, or at least was a catalyst to what we are seeing now. And we're seeing not only numbers grow in Panama, I'm sure, but also in other countries like Costa Rica, Chile, Argentina, and Colombia, Mexico for sure. But Mexico's been for many years. I would say that probably Mexico has the most number of expats than other countries. But I know Costa Rica is growing. I know Panama is growing. And that's the reason why we asked you to be so kind to share your insights on Panama, because I know it's a country that many of my clients are asking about as well. So no better person than yourself to be able to share that information with us. I know that Panama has different, landscapes to offer. We mentioned beaches, jungles, metropolises as well. What kind of, real estate investments or properties does Panama offer to someone who's thinking about relocating to Panama?
Well, from just a purely an investment standpoint, of course, there's Panama City is a great place to purchase properties for rentals. I personally prefer the beach area just simply because the demand for rentals is worldwide is highest at the beach.
Right.
The landscapes are very, very diverse. Obviously, it's much different at the beach than it is in the city. The highlands are a completely different story. It's more jungle. And then, of course, we have the Caribbean side, which is a whole nother flavor, really.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's one of the beauties of Panama, really. In such a very small little country, you've got so much diversity, and you can literally traverse from one end of the country to the other in half a day.
Fantastic.
It's fantastic. It's beautiful.
Awesome.
From Panama City, I can be in the Caribbean in 45 minutes.
Well, if anyone is like myself, I prefer the Caribbean hands down. So if and when I invest in Panama, it's going to be near the Caribbean side for me personally. But it's good to know that there's so many other options to choose from depending on the investment need and the person's desire too. So one of the things that we understand as Americans and Canadians relocating to other countries is the first thing that we think of, or the second thing we think of behind healthcare, is safety and security, right? That's the prime thing that they want to know is how's the healthcare and is it safe there? Tell us a little bit about the security and the safety in Panama and what's your experience been?
Well, I've been here for 17 years. In my own personal situation, I've not had any concerns whatsoever with safety or security. But of course, like any country, you still have to use some common sense. And there's some neighborhoods that you just simply don't hang around in at night. But for the most part, I find that the safety and security to be pretty high level. I don't, certainly not trying to knock the U.S., but right now, I think it's quite a bit safer here.
I would agree with you. I think that in our major cities, crime has been kind of going on the up and up across the country on the up and up. We hear of, shootings and mass shootings and, attacks on the police and crashing the stores. And there's so many things going on here in the States, and we don't give that a second thought in terms of, do I feel safe? Right. But certainly when you're thinking about, making a move to another country, it's always one of those questions you have, right? And you said something to me that resonates, which is you got to be mindful of where you are, right? Don't go into those neighborhoods you're not supposed to go into.
Sure.
Maybe don't be out at night somewhere where you're not supposed to be. Definitely be aware of your surroundings and where you're going. Is it a well-lit place? Are you going with a ton of people? Or are you going to be on your own? So those are things that you would do or you should do even here in the States, right? Or wherever you live at home.
Right? Exactly right.
There's crime even in our backyard. So the truth is that, you're going to find crime anywhere you go to. That's the truth. But the important thing is to understand that there is safety and security. And I'm sure that the Panamanian authorities make sure that those areas that are experiencing the investment of foreign investments are going to make sure to provide that security that they're looking for to promote more investments. Correct?
That's exactly correct. In fact, in Casco Viejo, the old city, which is there's lots and lots of foreign investment there, they have what they call tourism police everywhere.
Wow.
Everywhere. And they're just there to help you. Hey, can I help you? Where are you going? Say, listen, you want to stay out of that neighborhood over there. And they just guide you around. I found it to be great. I was looking for a parking spot last week, and I was parked where I wasn't supposed to, where I was trying to figure out where am I going to park. And they tapped on my window and said, look, can we help you? They guided me down a one-way street the wrong way
Wow.
to help me find a parking spot. I thought, man, this sure wouldn't happen in San Diego or Boston.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't. Yeah, that's definitely comforting, man. What a nice service that they provide. And again, I'm assuming it's because they understand the importance of protecting the foreigners and the visitors, right? It's one of their largest GDP is tourism, if second to freight and industry, things of that nature, but they protect it as well. So it's good to know.
Absolutely.
Speaking of infrastructure, right? One of the other questions that most people have is services, infrastructure, right? Is there running water, electricity, plumbing? What kind of service can I expect to get? Tell us a little bit about the modern infrastructure that Panama can offer and the different diverse landscapes that.
Well, infrastructure is an ongoing concern, or an ongoing situation, because as this country is literally exploding with more and more people coming, they're literally having to scramble to keep up with the demand for electricity and water and services. But so far, they have their eye on the ball, and they're making the adjustments best they can as they recognize the need and then adjust to make the corrections. I think that's going to be an ongoing battle. Literally, more and more people are just flooding into this country.
And that's not only to speak of Panama alone. I mean, there's other infrastructure concerns and developments in other countries, Costa Rica.
Yeah, that's
Mexico.
right. That's
even
right.
Even in our communities where they're expanding new developments. Of course, we have the increased tax rates, what we called Malarus or tax incentives that help develop the infrastructure, your plumbing, your police, your fire. So infrastructure is very, very important. It's a part of growth, and it sounds like at least they have it addressed and they're working on it daily. So it's good to know.
Yes, I mean there's still plenty of work to do, but they're on the right page. They're working on it.
So would you say that the infrastructure in terms of those services is also top, world level top, right? It's not going to be a third world country. You're not going to, have some challenges in that area. And it depends on where you purchase too, right?
That's exactly right.
Wonderful. So speaking of infrastructure and what the services are, I guess one of the other questions that one might have is, tax advantages. Are there any tax advantages in me investing in Panama? And if so, what are those?
Well, there are some, and it really depends on what your situation is. Obviously, if you come here retired, there's not really much tax advantage to take advantage of. Myself, I'm still working. I take advantage of the foreign earned income exclusion. So, being that I'm a permanent resident of Panama, I get to pay my taxes based on Panama's rate. And I think it's like the first 110,000 net. I don't have to pay tax to the U.S. because I'm paying it here. If you go over that, then the U.S. wants their
percentage.
Yeah, they want their percentage.
They want their cut of the pie.
That's right.
Let's just be frank, right?
Right. There's lots of property tax advantages. Again, depending on where you are. I just bought a property in Casco Viejo, and it's tax exempt for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Right. That's unbelievable.
That's unreal.
It's in a special investment area where they're encouraging people to invest.
Fantastic.
If you buy a piece of land and build a house, depending on the value of the house, it's anywhere from 5 to 10 years tax exempt.
Fantastic. So certainly some tax advantages that if someone would be interested in at least discovering Panama as maybe an option for their retirement or maybe an investment, that's something that you can talk to them on a one-on-one basis and let them know, here are some tax advantages depending on where you want to purchase and what's available. Right. That certainly can persuade someone to choose a property or to choose to invest in Panama.
That's right. And they recently reduced the property tax rate here It used to be well north of 1%. Now it's
Okay.
0.5%.
Oh, wow. That's certainly
Yeah.
nice.
For your principal residence, up to I think like 700. Then it goes to
Okay.
0.7.
Okay.
Still much more affordable than where I came from.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
I don't know what the rate in San Diego County is, but in LA County alone, it's just a little north of 1.25. I want to say it's like
yeah,
one.
1.25 in San Diego.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
like Riverside might be like 1.108 or
yeah,
something like
yeah.
that. Some of the smaller counties, but we're used to at least 1%. I know in other states, for example, like Texas and Florida, could be a little bit higher. I think it's somewhere near closer to the 3%. But to know that the real estate taxes are only 0.5% or maybe a little bit more depending on the price point, that's good to know.
Yeah, it's great. People living in San Diego in expensive homes, that tax bill is a big number every year.
Oh, it sure is. Let me tell you, I know it.
Mhm.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you about is residency. Are there any streamlined residency options? You mentioned that you're a permanent resident, right, of
Yes,
Panama.
yes.
Obviously, you're not an immigration attorney or things of that nature, but through your experience, tell us a little about some of those residency options. Are you? There's some countries where you invest and they give you a visa. If you
Mhm.
invest X amount of dollars, are there any programs that might facilitate residency in the city of Panama? In the
There,
city
there
of
are there are many options to gain residency. The main one typically is a pensionado, a retiree. Um, you just have to document that you have a basic minimum income to support yourself. If you have a spouse, it goes up a little bit more. So most people come on the pensionado.
Okay.
But there's lots of others. There's the person of means, like you said. You can either invest in real estate. I think it's 300,000,
Okay.
or you can buy a CD, leave the money in the bank to get residency. You can invest in timber to get residency that
Oh,
way.
wow.
Yeah, and one of the things that you mentioned earlier is the people that work from home. They actually created what they call a red carpet visa, which is specifically geared towards nomads, digital nomads.
Mhm.
So they're trying to encourage the people that you mentioned that are now working from home online to consider, well, why work in Chicago when you could be sitting on the beach uh,
Exactly.
doing the same thing? And it's actually working pretty well. We have quite a few digital nomads that have come to Panama.
That's great to
Uh,
know.
yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
Well, the
I know
tax
people.
advantages as well, right?
I know that there are people that are my age. I'm in my mid 50s now. That maybe I'm kind of towards the end of my working career, but I still am able and physically able to do some kind of business that I could do online. And certainly, being a digital nomad could be an option there in Panama, as it is around other parts of the world, like Thailand and Bali and Mexico and things of that nature. Like I said, technology has definitely afforded us the opportunity to do that. So it's good to know that.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit about the cultural diversity that Panama can offer. I mean, we have probably you could probably talk to us a little bit more about where are they coming from? Canadians, North Americans, Europeans. Like, what are you seeing in terms of diversity in Panama?
Well, this is literally a melting pot. There are people, I work with clients from literally all over the world. Even more so now, as you're probably aware, there's quite a few hot spots in the world. Seeing lots of people from France, Germany, Holland. They have issues. Europe is in a tight spot.
I
Uh,
see.
Canadians, even with their the exchange rate. I mean, when they come to Panama, they lose approximately 30% of their currency value. But apparently, things are not as attractive in Canada as they used to be because, despite that, more and more Canadians are coming and just sucking up that 30%.
It's interesting you mentioned that. I have a good friend of mine, Christina Whiteley. She lives in Cabo. She relocated to Cabo with her husband Ryan from Canada, from Vancouver, BC, a couple years ago now. I think they're in their third year in
Mhm,
Cabo, and she specifically quoted that
mhm,
Canada is becoming a little bit more and more difficult to raise a family. Certainly,
mhm,
some of your civil rights are being, let's just say, tested, right?
mhm,
And without getting political, there are some concerns, and so I do see your point that more and more Canadians are looking for better options as to where they can live, and if they're willing to take a hit of 30% of their assets, but are able to live, I'm not going to say freely, but a little bit more, a little bit more in their own control, being
correct.
able to control their own environment and what they can do. I think Panama and other countries can afford them that possibility, and they're making those moves. So you're absolutely right. I'm seeing a lot more Canadians relocate as well.
Well, another thing I find that's pretty interesting is historically Panama has been a retirement haven,
Hmm.
but in the last 2 or 3 years, or probably since COVID, the demographics are changing significantly. The people that are coming are much younger.
Hmm.
They have children. They're coming with their family. They're not happy with, again, without getting into politics, but they're just not happy with the things that are being introduced in the schools, or
Absolutely.
it doesn't align with whatever they're looking for. So more and more and more young people are coming to Panama with their children and enrolling them in the schools, and I find that pretty interesting that the demographics are changing significantly.
I agree. And Panama is not the only country that is seeing that immigration from other countries with families and children. You're absolutely right. I think that people are starting to realize that their civil rights are being maybe questioned, and their freedoms are being, it comes at a cost that they're not willing to pay, and so they're looking for other places where they can, maintain that lifestyle that they want and be able to maybe not expose their children to some of those agendas that are being introduced not only in the schools but in general, right? So it's good to know that there's a place for them to go, right?
Yeah, well, I ask nearly every client that crosses my path, "Why are you here?" And regardless of how they articulate it, it ultimately comes out politics or economics.
Yeah, and that isn't exclusive of Panama. I think, California for the first time in many, many years has experienced an exodus over the last 3 years, specifically because of COVID.
That's right.
Other states could say the same. Idaho's taking on a lot of ex-Californians, as Nevada and Arizona, New Mexico, primarily states that are a little bit more conservative, right? Texas has taken up a lot of them, San Antonio, Dallas, Austin,
Mhm.
to mention a few. Even Houston has experienced a huge growth. Florida, of course, has always
Florida
been,
is huge.
it's
Yeah,
huge. Florida is always a retirement haven and will continue to be a retirement haven. But it's good to know there's other options where people
that's
can
right.
choose to live in warm climate, have
Mhm.
affordable cost of living, have an amazing healthcare system, and have an infrastructure that's going to support a lifestyle that they're used to and that they
Mhm.
want.
Mhm.
So, Mike, I think we've kind of covered, I want to say 10 points as to some of the reasons why someone would want to either relocate or invest in Panama. I appreciate you giving us the information. Santiago is one of your partners with ITA Global, and
Mhm.
I know Santiago has put together something that whomever might be interested in taking a discovery trip to Panama may do so through ITA Global. So,
Mhm.
Santiago, take a couple minutes, Santiago, and tell us a little bit about what ITA Global does. And as you do that, I'm going to go ahead and pull up your website so we can display it. Okay.
Sounds good. Yeah, so ITA Global, we are a destination management company. We've been doing business for over a decade, and in 2018, we had the opportunity. We left Nicaragua because of political issues, ironically, and we ended up in Panama. And to our surprise, Panama was so friendly, especially technologically speaking. Infrastructure. Um, and in 2018, my business partner Chris connected with Mike, and that's how we ended up, meeting each other. And almost by default, because we started promoting Panama as a destination, and every trip
Fantastic.
without fail, people would say, "Hey, huh?" Yeah, people would just say, how do I buy a house? How do I invest? What are the
Mhm.
benefits? Can I move here? All these questions, like in every single trip without fail. So slowly we started kind of creating a program, right? We creating a some sort of relocation agenda that people can come into Panama, and we can take you, or we take them into a Panamanian experience so they can see the different areas of Panama. And that's how things have evolved. But in this year, with Mike, we've always talked, and we've had clients that come and talk to Mike. And this year we said, you know what, Mike, you are the expert inside Panama. It's a very successful real estate company. Why don't we just put it all together? We do our part. We manage the logistics, the customer service, and then we just bring them into Panama. I mean, they come to the best hands there could be, right? And that's how we ended up, collaborating. So now people get the inside scoop, not only from Mike's point of view as a real estate agent or as a real estate expert, but also as an expat. So they get the best of both worlds. He can give you personal experiences, just like what he talked about. He's been there for 17 years. He knows the country very well, and he knows the economics, and he understands real estate extremely well. So ITA as a destination management company was just a natural flow. We love working with people that are, that have that understand the anatomy of that country, and Mike was the one.
Well, I mean, I think it's an important partnership simply because there might be people that are currently watching, or maybe will watch it on YouTube later, that may not have ever experienced Panama, right? And what a better way. Sometimes when you decide, hey, I want to go on a discovery, I'm going to go to Panama, and you go on your own, you may not, even though you might plan something, or maybe you have a tourist company or something like that, you really don't get the opportunity to kind of look at maybe some investment opportunities, or maybe really kind of go into sectors of Panama that might be attractive to you in terms of maybe you relocating, or maybe discovering Panama in a deep sense of the way. So what better way than to do it with ITA Global, who now has a specific discovery tour, right, that will receive them, give them top services. I believe you guys provide a couple of meals a day. You guys provide transportation. Tell us about what you provide, so that so if anyone's interested, they'll know what they're going to look forward to.
So when people arrive to Panama, we make it our philosophy has always been worry-free. You show up to Panama, and then we pick you up. We manage your hotels, your transportations, all of your activities, and we connect you to the authentic Panama experience, which is key, right? You need to see Panama for what it is, and in different areas, right? You want to see the city life, then we show you what the city has to offer. You love to go play golf, then we show you where the golf is at. And obviously, because everything is so curated, we usually will have conversations with the clients before they arrive, so we understand what's their like, what they're looking for, and that's how we're able to connect. And obviously, we take them. So all they have to do is show up, and they always say, "Oh my God, that's all I have to do." Yeah, literally, just tomorrow, just be ready by 8 a.m. We'll pick you up after breakfast, and then we'll do it again. And that's how we've been able to make it simple for the customers without thinking about, especially if you're thinking of moving, right? If you're thinking of moving, it's a big commitment. So I think we give them also the safety, right? The know-how, the knowledge of how the city works, or the country works. And anyways, they get connected from, if you're a foodie, then we take you to foodie places. If you want to know about banking, then we connect you with attorneys that can help you with that. So yeah.
That is awesome. So, I mean, depending on their needs and the conversation that you have with the potential traveler, you'll figure out and put together an itinerary that fits best for them, right?
That is correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And I see here on your website,
tailor-made.
Pretty much tailored. And I see on your website you have day one, welcome to Panama. On day, you'll discover some food. Drive around the city a little bit. Looks like day two is a Panama City real estate tour. So you'll take them to probably 3 or 4 developments, depending on what their needs might be. It looks like you have a day 3 where you're specifically hunting for beach properties in Coronado, or maybe another part of the country. So at least you have an opportunity to look at some beach properties. And it looks like day 4, you have an excursion to the highlands, or maybe what we call like the rainforest.
The highlands.
Right? And Phuket. This is where Mike currently is in the highlands of Phuket. So it looks like it's a pretty diverse. Looks like Phuket and downtown on day 5. So you get a little bit more of Phuket as well. And then, you circle back around and you have day 6, some spa, some golf, maybe some more property hunting. So it looks like, at the very least, you guys have a very diverse itinerary put together for people that might be interested in investing in Panama, or at least discovering Panama, to see if Panama could be a good destination for you to invest or even retire. So that's a fantastic package, Santiago.
And this was created with a lot of input from Mike. This package was created because, if you live in the cold weather and you're like, I want to be by the beach, and you literally have no idea how hot it can get in Central America until you're there, right? And then you're like, oh my God, this is way too hot for me. Is there something in the middle? So then Mike always says, we need to take them to the highlands. We got to go to Boquete. So it's one. Or people don't expect Panama to be so modern in the city, and that's why we give them a taste of the areas that are being more populated by the expat community that have an infrastructure already. Yeah.
Well, wonderful. I mean, I have a link here that I could show people. You guys can definitely find the link here to ITA Global's Inside Panama Real Estate Tour. If you guys would like some more additional information, please go ahead and email us. One of the things that we can offer you as well is we can offer you a guide on investing in Panama that's provided by Mike and his team. If you guys are interested in getting some more information or at least applying for the guide, go ahead and email me. You see it on the streaming here. It's at the very bottom of the ticker. It's super simple. You can email me at hector.aguilar@exprealty.com. And if you want to book a personal discovery call with Mike, specifically, you can text me as well at 626-255-2783. We'll make sure to make the introduction into Mike to answer any additional questions that you might have that maybe we didn't cover here in our live stream, in our podcast. And would love the opportunity to show you and maybe have you experience what Panama can offer you. Gentlemen, I certainly appreciate you taking the time. Mike, any closing remarks?
Well, we sure look forward to seeing you here. Santiago and his team, I'm certain, will do a fantastic job for you. I just worked with one of their clients, and the client just kept raving about the service and the itinerary. We're here. We're ready for you. We have certainly lots of knowledge and experience.
Fantastic. Well, what better endorsement for ITA Travel, pardon me, ITA Global? I keep saying travel because I know it's travel, but it's ITA Global. What an awesome testimony that one of his clients is absolutely happy with them. Gives someone thinking about making a trip to Panama, definitely connect with us, and we'll put you in touch also with Santiago from ITA Global. Gentlemen, again, it's been a pleasure. Once again, I'm Hector Aguilar, Realty in Los Angeles. This has been another episode of Foreign Investment Fridays. Once again, if you have any questions about Panama, please send us an email, send us a text, and we look forward to connecting with you soon. Have a great day.
Thank you, Hector. It was a pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Awesome.